Hello, day 14, build your belonging. And today is a practice day. So I'm going to keep this really short because I want to kind of free up more space for you to go and do the practice rather than spending loads of time listening to me. And yesterday's video was quite long and detailed and kind of a bit more juicy, shall we say. So I'm going to keep this really, really quick. Yesterday I was talking about triggers and essentially when we become activated and where they come from. So I kind of worked through this process of something happens to us in our lives, and it creates a wound, and that wound can then become activated when similar circumstances are at play, and it's a sensory response. So for example, a song we might hear, a smell, a place, a person. There's anything is possible in terms of actually activating that old wound. And what that sets off is a chain reaction. And it often puts us into a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And when we're in that state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, then it's, we go into a rehearsed stress response, and it can be really difficult for us to come out of it. And what's often sitting beneath these events, or perhaps even encapsulating these events, is another way to think about it, is that we create a core belief about ourselves or the world around us that we then start to look for evidence to prove that it's true throughout time. And we will always find the evidence that we need. So, for example, I am not worthy would be a very, very common negative core belief that we hold, and we will always be able to find evidence that will add to our kind of dossier of, well, yeah, there we go, look, that thing went wrong, or that person doesn't like me because I'm not worthy. So these events are traumatic in the sense that the way that we respond to them creates an internal trauma, and that creates a wounding. And when the conditions are met, for place, people, song, smell, we get triggered. Even someone shouting might trigger an old wound. We become activated, and the belief that we have created about ourselves or the world after that event, really come like it gets fired up. And we then start to be in that place of, well, everything always goes wrong for me, or I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. And there are a number of beliefs that, are possible, or any number of beliefs that are possible. But often what sits at the heart of all of these beliefs is I am not worthy, and I'm not lovable, I'm not enough, I'm not a good enough person. And so in order to kind of excavate these beliefs, we have to start to reflect on, the things that have happened in our lives. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to look back. I don't want to go over old ground. And I get that. I really get that. In my personal experience and the experience of, my clients that I've worked with, is that there are a number of events, beliefs, wounds that are essentially holding you hostage. Because even though you don't want to look at them, and I understand why you don't want to look at them, that core belief that you have been holding as a result of that event holds you hostage, and we feed it, we fuel it with the present. So new things come up and they activate that wound, and they just feed that fire. So to a certain extent, we do have to reflect back on, the things that have happened. Now, what I really want to stress is that does not mean that we have to dive in and, relive events, because that's not something that I am proposing. Some people have been through deep, big trauma. I would not encourage, invite, or, and this is not how I would work with clients, is to walk through those events. There are ways of working with trauma in that way, and these are techniques and tools that I use in my coaching work, but that's not something I'm inviting people to do. And without some reflection on the past, my personal view is it can be really hard to make long-term change. my take on it is that there's some healing work that is possible for us to move forward and for us to create and build new beliefs. That doesn't mean that we completely eradicate the core beliefs that we've held before, or that we completely eradicate the triggers. Again, I don't think that that's necessarily possible. But what we can do is take the charge out of them, and we can catch them before they send us into a spiral. Okay, so here is the practice that I am encouraging you to do for today. And what I want you to do is to grab a journal, if you have one, or just some pen and paper is also fine. And I want you to reflect back over your life, and I want you to create, if there was like the book of your life story so far, how many chapters would there be, and what would you call those chapters? And if you were to give like a brief overview of those chapters, just a couple of sentences about the things that went on, what would you say? So you can do it. You don't have to do it in any particular way. You might want to do it in decades, like 0 to 10, or even break it down even more than that, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, things like that. Or there might be, certain things that were going on in your life at the time that you want to have as a chapter, and that's also fine. A decade may be too big a space and might be overshadowed by, something difficult that happened in that decade, and it doesn't necessarily define the entire decade for you. You get to choose. Like there's no right or wrong here, but what I want you to do is to look back over your life so far, and to give, to create chapters of your life, and to give those chapters a title as if it were a book of your life so far, and just a brief summary, if you like, of what happened in those chapters. Now, the reality is that may stir up some difficult emotions for you. There will be some, every single one of us is going to have stuff from our history that is going to be hard to think about. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to do this from a distance, but to kind of, if it helps, imagine that you're looking down on your life and looking at these different things and different chapters of your life. You don't have to go into detail. This is from a perspective of some distance here, okay, which helps create safety. If difficult stuff gets stirred up for you, think of some of the techniques that we have covered in this series so far. Lots of deep breathing, practice the tapping that we've done, which was way back at the start, just tapping round on all the various tapping points, just to soothe your emotions, regulate your nervous system, and come away from it and come back to it at a time that feels good. But yeah, creating chapters, giving them a title and a little overview. And we're gonna, there's a really good reason, because what you'll hopefully notice from each of the days that we've done so far is we're kind of, we are building, and we're also getting deeper as we go. So we're building a strong foundation from which we can explore at a deeper level. So it's kind of this dual effect of building up strength and resilience, but also mining for meaning and going deeper. And these kind of exercises start to kind of, lift the lid a little and start to get us a little bit clearer. If anyone's struggling with anything in particular as a result of this exercise, drop me a DM. I'm happy to help and support in any way I can. Don't do anything that is going to be too overwhelming for you. Keep your distance from it. We're not diving into individual events. We're looking at it from a distance, an overview. If you were looking down the contents of a book, what are the chapters that you would see of your life? And then maybe just a few sentences to just to help deepen that a little for you. Okay, amazing. And we're continuing this, this deepening practice as we go. So there'll be more tomorrow. I hope everyone has a great evening, and I look forward to being with you tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye.